Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880 and on YouTube at realestateshoworegon.com. I'm Pete Belcastro, principal broker at John L. Scott Real Estate. This lovely lady here in the middle is Alice Lema, a top 1% broker at John L. Scott as well, and co-host with us. And she's a terrific. How are you doing, by the way?
Great. It's an interesting time when we have all this smoke trying to still get people out there to show houses. And then we have the fire in the Applegate, and we have a whole bunch of people coming from California who specifically wanted to be in there. So we're going to have to wait and see if we can show those houses.
Well, Alice is here. We're, of course, both real estate brokers with John L. Scott. We get together with you once a week here on the radio and on YouTube to talk about, well, things facing real estate issues, buying, selling, renting, investing. Fellow over here is James Stout. He's an attorney in Medford. And welcome. Thank you for being here. You were with us back years ago. We did a show together, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a couple.
Yeah. So things have changed, huh? We're still here, which is really good. Did you ever think that you'd see something like what's happened in Oregon about? I know you deal with landlords and tenants and laws like that. Did you ever think you'd see a law like this passed in Oregon?
Yeah, because it just comes from Portland.
A little bit closer there, buddy.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, it just comes from Portland. So whatever happens in Portland is going to happen to the rest of the state sooner or later.
Yeah. So you weren't surprised by it then?
I was surprised how they kind of rammed it through, and what they did without any comment or, from anybody else. I mean, they just did it. So they didn't. We tried to tell them that some of these things weren't a great idea, and they didn't listen. So
Well, and maybe you could give just a quick synopsis of what the bill does, so the listening audience can catch up with just a tiny bit.
So first of all, what they did is they took away your no cause notice after the first year. So that was, it's just a straight 30 or 60-day notice. They kind of took that away from you. And the other thing they did is they put a cap on increasing the rents, which is 7% plus the CPI. So you can raise the rent. It's basically 10% per year. And that's what they did. I mean, there's some other little exceptions.
Those are the two real big things.
Yep.
Yeah.
So rent control and then taking away the 30-day notice.
Before that, was there a lot of? I mean, Alice, you've had rentals and
I do have. Yes.
Still do.
Yeah.
Did before this happened, was no cause evictions something that was common around our area, around here? Because I never really dealt with anything like that. So tell me what you guys have thought about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my practice, we do them all the time, but they're, I didn't think they were oppressive or anything like that, like they are. I think what happened is in Portland, they had a lot of investors come in and buy these big buildings, and they just kicked everybody out. So, and then they re-renovated them and
they're going to renovate them and raise the prices and sell them more. Okay.
So that's what caused it.
But as real estate agents, we really relied on that so that we could sell a home if we had to. The 30-day no cause. We say the house is going on the market, and we notifying you and all that. So now that's just much harder.
If the owner wanted to sell, it was if they'd been there over a year, it was 60 days, and you understood that going in, and you planned around with your
and 60 days is a good amount of time.
Let them go. But the other thing is the vacancy rate's so low, it's tough for somebody to go somewhere. I mean, if you get evicted, there's no place to go.
Well, we've certainly seen our rental vacancy rate has actually risen.
Which we
in
predicted.
Jackson County. I believe the last stat we had a month or so ago was around 2.5%,
which is still very
like
low.
That, which is low, but it was below point something not that long ago. So I guess there is more inventory. Remember that the rental market follows the housing market really, really a lot. So we have more inventory in the regular housing market. There's more inventory in that rental market
as well. So James,
what
would be a normal vacancy rate?
So over the years, we've seen it between 4 and 5%.
4 and
vacancy.
5%.
It's usually about normal. During the crash, obviously it was,
forever.
50, it was a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So that's like a little over 3 weeks or so. Like every unit in the valley would be vacant, maybe 3-4 weeks a year. Is that?
That I don't know. How long they were empty, I don't know that. We just get the stats from the rental owners dinner meetings. So we call around and everybody tells you how many units they have and how many are vacant. So that's, I've been doing this for about 25 years, and it's usually between 3 and 5%.
3 and 5%, yeah.
So 2 is still pretty low.
It is low.
And of course, rents. Tell us about rental rates in the valley here compared. I mean, we haven't had that big of an issue, or have we had a big issue with rents and raises and things like that, or how have you dealt with those kind of things?
That I can't answer. I don't know what the I know that the rates here are considerably less than Portland.
Okay.
But to tell you what a 2-bedroom, 1-bath rents for, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I can answer that because I just looked.
Okay.
And I looked last year about this time, and the rents have gone down. So you can find something nice and clean and not too long of a waiting list, either a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or a 1-bedroom, 1-bath for under $900 a month.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's supply.
I was going to
think
say more
supply.
inventory than has
Yeah.
come on the market for that. But that's a good thing, don't you think?
Well, yes, we needed more, but also I don't know what you're experiencing in your practice, James, but a lot of our investors are putting their buildings on the market. They don't want to be landlords anymore.
Yeah, I have some clients that have done the same thing. They just said, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. There's
So
too
they're
much
done.
yeah.
And why? Why do they say that? I mean, they've made money on these things. It's not like it's,
Sometimes they do, sometimes they
Yeah,
don't.
okay,
You know,
that's true.
but they're just tired of the regulations and the, I guess you'd call it. They feel like government interference.
Uh-huh.
They're being told what they can and can't do and
Okay.
what
so,
they can charge.
So
And
what are they doing with their properties? Because are they selling them? Or
They're selling them.
for other? So they're just selling them.
yeah, they're selling them.
So other investors, Alice, or to single families? What
Or
do
are
you think?
they taking, what are they doing with the proceeds? Are they taking it to another state? Are they doing a different kind of investment?
Some of the people I know have actually moved. I mean, they left.
Out of the
This is
area?
less
Out of
than-
Oregon?
Yeah, they left the state.
They left the state.
Wow.
And they took their money with them.
Yep.
Oh,
And they
boy.
like to go to some place that doesn't have any income tax, so
Isn't that
Nevada or someplace like that. But yeah, so I mean, that's not the majority of them, but some people have left, and they just got tired of it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that you have the right to do, right?
Right, and we
You could
predicted
do
that. We
thought
predicted that when the law passed, and I'm one of the people that did not think it would actually pass.
Yeah.
Surprise on me.
And we thought also some people obviously would turn them into short-term rentals if they could in some places if they had certain locations or whatever. So there was lots of different movement. Looks like took place as a result of this thing.
And I haven't looked to see how many like VRBOs there are in Medford. I use VRBO, but I obviously don't use it here.
There's quite a few, and
Yeah.
it's surprising because we're not really a vacation destination, but
Right.
we have a lot of people coming here for work, for funerals, for reunions, for weddings,
for medical issues.
for a lot
Yeah.
for medical.
For
Mhm.
look at U.S. Cellular Community Park, what it has drawn in here for short-term rentals. I mean, there's a lot. There's
And
a
it's
lot going on
tolerated
there.
in Medford. It's tolerated
Yeah.
more than Ashland and Jacksonville.
Yeah, I had a client that converted her duplex into a VRBO, and she loves it. She
Yeah.
doesn't have any of the hassles of a rental. She doesn't, and they're full.
And they're happy, and they,
Yeah.
they give you a happy post. We so appreciate, you letting me stay in your house.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Well,
do-
it's good for
yeah.
the business. I mean, they come in and they spend money, and it's great.
Well, it doesn't seem to be. I mean, and we've done shows with Daniel Perry from Book Airhop, who's kind of like the leading guy around here, and it doesn't seem as many as there are, Alice, in short-term rentals. And this is one of the options you have to make money with your property if you can. It certainly hasn't hurt the hotels. It doesn't seem they're building more of them. I mean, they're building what down there at the South Interchange again, two more. So
Yeah,
that doesn't seem to be hurting them.
Yeah, they seem to be preparing for quite an influx. What do you think, James?
It certainly looks like it. I mean, I don't know where they're coming from or what they're here for, but I think you're right. That baseball park is, and
Oh,
the
it's huge.
soccer and baseball are huge.
It's huge. We're just beginning to tap those things into our community because it generates wealth here. But I'm telling you, they're not going to come with the smoke.
No.
If we keep doing that every summer, they're going to say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. Well, we're talking with James Stout today as an attorney. We're talking about landlord tenant laws that have gone around. You deal with this thing. What are the biggest issues that landlords and tenants, each side, when they get conflicts or whatever, what are the kinds of things that cause problems that you want to avoid if you're a landlord, especially if you're a landlord and you're the investor here? What are those?
Well, the first thing you got to do is screen your tenants. That's it. If you can screen out 99% of the bad people, you're well ahead of the game.
Do you recommend? I'm curious this one. Do you recommend an investor or landlord use a property manager or try to do it yourself? What's the smart way here?
If you know what you're doing, you can do it yourself. Otherwise, you better get somebody that does. So that's a good question. I mean, a lot of people want to take the time and do it themselves, and other people, that's not their job.
Yeah, 'cause
their
it is
job
like
is
a
to do something else. And
part-time job.
Yeah, or a full-time job, depending on how many rentals you have.
It depends how many maybe you would have. Yeah,
Yeah.
one or two or.
What kind of things do you look for when you're screening?
Criminal, their credit, and the other people that are with them. A lot of times people will come in and they'll just, they'll screen dad. They don't screen mom and they don't screen junior. But, mom and junior are in there, and mom and junior may have problems. So just make sure who they are in prior references. Make sure that you get the landlord instead of the tenant's brother that you're calling.
Right.
But that's usually the big ticket item, is just getting the right people. And 99% of the tenants are great people. They just want a place to live, and they pay their rent, and they're not a problem.
Yeah.
It's the 1% that ruins it for everybody.
For everybody. And everyone's going to experience that at some time or another if you're a landlord, right?
And if there's extensive damage, and we have a situation right now with a landlord who has a 2-cottage duplex, and she had to take out a loan. The damage is $30,000. So in that kind of a scenario, what can the landlord do after the fact?
Eat it. I mean, if the tenant's got $30,000, you can sue them and try to collect it.
Can you file a judgment or take them to court?
You can. I mean, you can file in small claims, and we get a lot of those. I'm a small claims judge as well, and a lot of the cases we do are landlord tenant cases where they didn't return the deposit, or there was damage, or that's usually what it is. It's usually around the deposit and what the place looked like when they left.
Deposit and how the condition of the property. What is it in general real estate?
I think it's the seller property disclosure, the repair addendum, and the appraisal.
Okay.
Not necessarily in that order.
But those do that. I mean, they have those. They have that effect on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm just curious as to how that people still make that a good investment. And I still think it is. I mean, we talk about this all the time. I mean, is renting still a good investment for people?
It is.
For landlords. And
it
you
is.
say, yeah?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if most of my clients have had rentals for a long time. And that's one of the problems with this new bill is it turned the landlord into the police.
The police, yes.
And where before they just, a lot of them had people living there for 15 years.
And they didn't raise the rent.
They haven't raised the rent. Or if they did it 10 years ago, and it went up $100. The rent's well below market value, but they're good tenants. They leave them there. Now, I can't raise the rent. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do it every year. It doesn't make sense.
So do you think that's going to happen because this thing comes after, I think, well, let's see, I guess it'll be February of next year. We now have a year. I'm going to start. Are we going to see those rents raise, and what are they going to raise? And they can raise them up to 10%. Are we going to start seeing that? I've heard threats about that. Whether that comes true or not, I don't know yet.
I think you're going to see a lot of that just to get the rents up, because if something happens, the way the law is written, you may not be able to raise the rent on the new tenant more than 10%. So depending on how things work out, and there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in there.
Sure.
But I think you're going to see people are going to start raising it 10%
so
to get it up.
Start seeing the rents raised.
Well, and I think it's going to affect the ability to sell a building too, because the investors are going to try to have it pencil with the purchase price to the gross rents. And if the gross rents are too low, it's going to be really hard.
I had a client come in yesterday with just that problem. They were looking at buying one, and they're like, how do I get the rents up?
How do I get the rents up? Well, 10% a year is what you can legally do. We got a break coming up here, so we got to come back. Hold the thought there.
Lots to talk
We're
about.
with James Stout, an attorney here at Medford, talking about rental laws and tenant landlord issues. Pete and Alice Lema here today. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget you can check out any of our past shows at realestateshowOregon.com. We are coming right back right after this. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880 and on YouTube at realestateshowOregon.com. Pete Belcastro and Alice Lema with you here today in first part of August. Thanks for joining us under some smoky kind of skies, but getting a little bit clear. I just hope they get this over with and we get back for the rest of the summer, right? We were really doing well. Yeah. Next week here, by the way, on the show, Lance, we're going to talk about Ionic estate sales and about that whole issue of estate sales and what you need to prepare for, because he's booked like through the end of the year.
And he has several
crews.
Can you believe
that?
But that's also a sign of our demographic. We have more than 50% now of over 55 residing here, and downsizing has just become a business.
Yeah. We're with James Stout, who's an attorney here in Medford, specializing in landlord tenant laws. How in the world did you ever get in that? I mean, I can think of a lot of things.
How did I get into that?
Yeah, how did you get into that landlord tenant laws?
Well, when I came here, I started working with my brother, and so he was doing it, and I got drafted. So I've been doing it ever since.
What's been some of the weird cases that you've ever done with that landlords and tenants get really sideways that you can, no names, but share with us?
No, they do. They get, and it becomes an ego thing, I think, for both sides. And so, yeah, they just fight. The weirdest stuff you see is when the tenant leaves and you have to go in there and clean those things out.
Oh, okay.
That's some weird
Weird stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
Hoarders, and I mean, there's a lady in, I can't. She was in Phoenix somewhere. You couldn't even open the door.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
And it was boxes to the ceiling.
Well, see, renters do that, and homeowners do that too, don't they? Yeah, we see.
Well, there's your estate sale.
Right. Well, but it also damages the property. You know, it can ruin the windows, it can ruin the paint, it can ruin the floor.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have. Plus, it's a fire hazard. It's very unsafe.
Oh, and then you get mice in those boxes, and you never get them out.
Yeah, and sometimes they get in the walls, and then they ruin the inside of the drywall and the insulation. It can be pretty messy.
So we're talking landlord and tenants note about being able to raise rents. Is it still a good investment? What do you think the average rent in the United States is today? The average rental. What do you think that is a month? Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that.
I have no idea.
Give me a guess. Guess it.
$1,000.
$1,442 nationally.
Really?
I don't think it's that high. I would not think it's that high in Jackson County, but $1,442 is the average.
Yeah, I would think
nationally.
here it would be more like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But we're not that far off.
It's certainly gone up there. So it's a lot of money that people are putting out, and of course the rules change regarding it. Talk about the 90-day part. I don't know what sellers should do. When you want to sell a property, you've got to have a 90-day escrow if the person has been there more than a year, right?
Yeah.
90
So,
days.
well, that's
I tell you, 90 days is a long escrow.
Well, that's if the buyer's going to use it as their primary residence. So you can give the tenant a 90-day notice. If I'm selling it to you and you're going to use it for your house, then I can give them a 90-day notice. If it's not, if you're going to use it as an investment, then that goes out the window. You
can't even. Okay, say that again. Okay, say that
so
again.
If I'm going to sell my rental,
I have a rental and I'm going to sell my rental. Okay,
and the buyer is going to use that as their primary residence.
That's the 90-day click.
That's the 90-day click.
So that the tenant moves out.
Mm-hmm. But if I want to sell my rental to Alice, and you're renting it, you have to take the renter with it, correct?
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
So are you allowed to do some due diligence on the person? What happens if they, what happens if they don't?
I don't think you can.
What if they have a criminal or?
You're stuck with them. I mean, I don't think you can't kick them out now. They've been there. So you take it as, it's like a lease. If you had a year lease and you sell it, you get the tenant.
It's like a business, I guess. If you sell it, you get the lease, and you continue on. So you'd have to take the tenant there. Okay. Now, can people negotiate this stuff out, James? I mean, we've heard of stuff people have given. I'm going to give you money. You give me the keys. You get out today. Can you cash for keys? Can I do any of this negotiate, even if I'm don't want to go or something like that? Or
as long as the tenant agrees, you can make any deal you want with the tenant.
Have you seen people do that?
I have.
What have they done? Kind of things.
A couple months free rent and some cash out the door.
How much cash is working? How much cash dangles?
That depends on how desperate you are.
And
that's the
Are you seeing more than $1,000? You seen landlords give more than $1,000?
No, I didn't, because they had some rent kickbacks on that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they're giving
the free rent. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that allows them to save up. If your rent's $1,000 a month, they get 2 months free. They can save up to $2,000 to go someplace else.
I wonder if it's worth it, though. I mean, then your 90 days is up. I wonder if it's even worth it to do that.
Well, you can get them out faster. I mean, the tenant moves, number one, and it's voluntary, so the tenant agrees. So they're happy to move. Well, they may not be happy, but they're okay with it. Where if you just give them a notice, now they have to leave, and they might not be
a little more agitated.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So one of the complaints we're getting from the seller side is having to give the tenant a copy of the offer because there's so much private information on that. Have you had any?
I haven't had any problems with that. Usually what happens is by the time they figure out what they're doing, the buyer walks because they don't want to wait 90 days.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're seeing, I've seen some of that where the buyers, they don't want to wait 90 days.
Their lender won't let them. I've had that. The lender won't let them lock that long.
For that. The lender won't let it go for
Yeah.
that long.
Some people's qualification is a moment in time.
Right.
And that has to do with the strength of their finances, and they're just not able to lock that long.
Well, and they want to move in before the kids go to school, and they want to do all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, and then the other thing is if the tenant doesn't move out, that's another month.
Yeah.
And then you know, whatever they're going to do, the repairs, and you know, it just
Right.
delays things. So a lot of the buyers aren't willing to wait that long.
Well, we're experiencing that. We're experiencing that right now, the very thing. And so, what's interesting is what you're saying is that, again, hope you heard this, is that buyers, sellers, listen to this, is that buyers are walking away from some of this because of these issues. So that's the thing that we want to be mindful of. If you find yourself in that situation, you better ask questions about it. If you're buying, you know, especially if you're buying, right?
Yeah, I just need to be more prepared if you're going to sell like that, and maybe even work it out with the tenant ahead of time so they're gone.
That would be the best. I would certainly tell the tenant, hey, this
Excuse
is
me.
what we're thinking about doing. You know, walk through it with them, let them know what's coming down the pipe.
Okay.
And the problem is that they pushed this bill through so fast, they didn't think it through. So like you said, you have to give the tenant the offer. Well, what happens if that offer falls through? Do you restart the clock?
And when does the clock start?
Right.
For that.
So what's the answer to that?
They didn't say that you have to start over, so we're plowing forward.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
you plow forward then. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, that's good to know. That's great.
You know, I mean, that's
Well, because we were worried about that. You also have to give the tenant money sometimes, and so if the deal falls, then do you have to give them another offer and more money? So
no,
we were
I don't
worried
think
about
so.
that.
I think you just give them the money and then you're done. If the offer falls through, you just get another one. But I think that first offer is where you start.
Well, I don't think that. One of the things you said is you have to show the tenant that you actually have the offer's been accepted and stuff. And I agree with Alice. That's none of their business.
Well, people are
in
worried
terms
about
of-
identity theft.
Well, of all this information that's on those sheets, what do you have to show? Can you just say, you know, what is legal to show you as the person?
It says you have to show them proof of the offer. I don't think you have to actually
Show the whole offer,
Yeah.
just proof of the offer. Maybe
Right.
the back page where you've accepted the offer and signed it.
And I
maybe.
would certainly redact all of their
Anything with that.
Yeah, the telephone numbers and there's
Yeah.
everything like that.
So if you have a 90-day thing, you know this was coming up, you want to sell it, you're ready to do this, you say the most successful is to negotiate with the renter, maybe give them a couple of months free rent or that kind of thing, or kick them back that last 2 months and get them out and say you got to go in 30 days. Would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I would think that many would. I mean, I don't know that, but I would think
Well,
many
the
people
problem,
would take
Pete,
to
is
that.
where are they going to go?
Yes.
That's the
And then we're back
problem.
to the vacancy
Yeah.
rate. Yeah.
And that's the real issue is there's no place
There's no place
th-
else
there's
to
no
go.
place to go, and they can't get out in 30 days.
Yeah, that's true. See,
Yeah.
so it's like a catch-22, right?
Yeah, it is.
and it's hard. It's hard on everybody, but
there's
you know,
ne-
preparation is your best weapon for sure in this
There's-
situation.
There's never an easy answer to the solution. So you've seen the kind of from both sides there. It's not only do the landlords have their issues, but they're really the tenants also who you've been with have those other problems out there too. And that's where do you go and what do you do?
Right.
And I don't. We have no answer to that.
No,
as much as much as we talk about trying to talk about different alternative housing and opportunities for that, we still don't have.
And we
very
have so
much.
many elderly now that want to be tenants. It's kind of an interesting organic movement here. And I know that, James, you do some work with estates and trusts. And so I just wanted to kind of start talking a little bit about that. When people want to downsize, they don't want to be homeowners anymore. What can they do to get ready for that? And what would a trust or a will look like in that situation?
Well, it depends on where they're going to go. I mean, a lot of them are going into assisted living, and
That is extremely expensive,
Yeah, it is.
and I'm telling you, they're pricing themselves out for so many people. I clients that just can't even afford that. But yes, okay, go ahead.
I mean, assisted living, or they're going into
Where?
apartments. If they can get in, and that's the other thing is we've had people that have, they're going to sell their house and they're going to do this, that, and the other thing, and then they don't have anywhere to go and they can't get in.
The easy part is selling the house, Alice. Look at that.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that's the easy part? Is where do you go
Yeah.
from there?
Yeah.
And there's no solution there. We don't have enough. Again, we keep building. We talk about all the time building. All we're building is three bedroom, 2 bath houses, single units. We understand that, but that's all we build.
Yeah. Well, I talked to a
relatively speaking.
client of mine that's a property manager, and he said, this was a couple months ago, I think it was 2-bedroom, 1 bath. He said you could build those things all day long and he'd fill them.
For rentals.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
2-bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah,
even.
2 bed or 2 and 2s.
2 and 2s. Yeah.
He, as many as you can build, he'll fill them up. And so that's where you are.
Well, that may be the new business model, the new landlord model in Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
That
Well,
might
like
very
you
well
said,
be.
with the zoning change,
I'm ready for, I think you're going to have some issues. Let me ask you, this as an attorney, I may have to cut a break coming up here, but I'm going to tell you this one. What would happen if in a city of 25,000, say in Medford or Grants Pass, obviously the 2 cities around here, and I'm in a development that has a homeowners association, but I also own a single family lot, and I want to put a 4-plex on that lot. The state law says I can do that. What supersedes? Does state law supersede the homeowners association, or the homeowner association going to forbid you from building 1, 2, 3, or 4 units?
That's funny. We were talking about that beforehand, and I haven't seen the new law.
Well, you got to hold off to the answer because
Okay.
we got a break coming up here. Okay, that's going to be an interesting thing, and I can't wait to see who's going to be the first person who's going to go do a 4-plex on a single family lot in a subdivision around. Is it going to happen?
We should check with the city
I
and see how
can't
many
wait to
applications
see
are
if
in.
it's
That
gonna
would be
happen
so
or not.
interesting.
Okay, don't check it any of our past shows at realestateshowOregon.com. We're coming back. One more segment to go with attorney James Stout, landlord tenant laws, all sorts of things. The Real Estate Show on KCMX and on YouTube. Coming right back after this. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show on KCMX News Media 880 and on YouTube at realestateshoworegon.com. Pete Belcastro and Alice Lema here with you today in the first part of August. As we roll along, football season isn't that far away anymore.
Hard
Alice,
to
it's hard to
believe.
believe.
Yeah.
There
Fall's
we go.
going to be here before
Another
you
year
know it.
coming.
When's the first game?
August 31st, actually, less than a month. The Beavers and Ducks open up. High school's September the 6th. So we'll get ready for all that. Today we're talking with James Stout, who's an attorney here in Medford, a landlord tenant law expert. Before we got at it, the last segment, this new, this crazy world around that we live in, a single family lot, anything zoned FS1, right? Single family lot. In Oregon, you have the ability now to add 2, 3, or 4 units to it as long as you meet the setbacks, et cetera, et cetera. What supersedes? Is the homeowner association going to supersede that if that's against their rule or the state law?
I'm sure the statute's going to control that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so and the homeowners associations are worried.
I don't know how that. Yeah, that's just going to. I haven't seen that bill. But from what I understand,
That's exactly what happens.
It
Yeah,
supersedes HOA rules.
Okay.
So I can't even imagine what that's going to look like. I just start thinking about it, going, okay, the parking, the common areas, everything is just going to be all right.
The funniest example with that would be if, and I know Eagle Point doesn't have 25,000 people in it, but the Eagle Point Golf Course community has like a 117-page HOA book, on this thing, and they got a lot of empty lots there. What was happen if somebody comes in there and builds? Want to put a triplex or something on one of those lots or a 4-plex. It's going to happen somewhere, and there's places in Medford also in Grants Pass that are communities like that with HOAs.
Yep, and it's a natural next step for our builders because they're starting to run out of nice, flat, buildable residential lots. So then what's the next thing that's going to happen? Are they going to start taking down some of these buildings that are or newer homes?
Maybe so. I wish they do. I hope they do. We need more. We need multiple density housing here.
Well, I think we need a variety. I think we need whatever people want to live in. People should get to choose what they want to live in.
Alice, those days are over. The Oregon legislature made sure those days are over.
Yeah, well, and we'll deal with it. There's always a way to make a profit. There's always a way to be comfortable.
Well, you're going to be litigating forever on that thing. You got to be like a hog heaven with that, huh?
I guess so. I'll have to look at it, but yeah, and how to rewrite those HOA guidelines because a lot of some of those things they only allow so many to be rentals.
Sure.
Pursuant to their rules.
That's right.
And the bank. So I don't know how they're going to get
because that will
that.
affect the financing for the whole complex.
Well, I hope that some builders, take advantage of that. We certainly need more, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you go down monoculture forests. We go down monoculture neighborhoods. Every house looks the same. Everything's a single family unit. Why can't we have more diversity? I've seen neighborhoods like that in different communities.
Yeah,
that
I'm just a
have
fan of
that. I
people
agree
having
with
what
you.
they want. I'm not taking a
Yeah.
side. I
Yeah.
just think people, if that's what they want, they should have access to that. And if that's not what they want, then, there's chocolate and vanilla.
You're totally you're market
I
driven
am.
with that, aren't
Yes,
you?
I'm a capitalist
You
pig.
did. No, you're
Pretty much.
You're saying the market should dictate that.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's
so.
okay.
I think so.
I think, but government doesn't work that way. Government does not say that. They are now forcing us into these issues of landlords and tenants. And
But how are they going to get past those other regulations? Is what I don't know. But that's the thing is, they do stuff and they don't understand how it's going to work out at the end.
No. I mean, these things started off with this new law, and the landlords. There were no forms.
Right.
This law went in. I have never seen, by the way, in all the years I've covered the Oregon legislature from the 80s on, I've never seen a bill that was passed, went into a law, took effect the same day it passed. Has that ever been done? And
No,
that's
this
what
one-
they did with this. No forms. People didn't know what to do.
Well,
And
the
yet we're
Rental
out
Owners
there.
Association, they were scrambling for forms when they first started, when they first put the bill out before it passed,
Right.
and but there were comment periods and all that, that we tried to get changes made, and hey, what about this? This doesn't, this isn't going to work. Why are we? Of course, they didn't pay any attention to that, but the state rental housing, they got on the forms pretty fast.
Did they get some out there now?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're out there. They're done.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing we got to worry about is what then, as we go forward here in this whole thing.
Look at what's happening in Portland, and that's what's going to come down here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean they changed the guidelines for your income to rent ratio. It used to be a third. Everybody was pretty comfortable with that, now I think they've raised it to 50%. So you're going to spend 50% of your income on rent. How are you going to afford to pay?
Yeah,
anything?
that's a little
Well, you
scary.
can't. I mean, Jackson County had a 36. I forget how long ago. Had a 36% of our average income went to rents, which
That's
was
not-
way high. The
that's-
state average is way lower than that.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, and they just raised it up to for when you're screening, so their income, if it's half.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing the tenants any favors with that.
No.
That's kind of scary. Plus, it also doesn't that encourage having more people live in the unit when they're not authorized to have that many people.
True, and the other thing too is like I said, they don't think these things. Tenant gets in there, can't make the rent, gets evicted. Now you've got an eviction on your record. You're not going to get a place ever.
Ever as a result of that.
Yeah.
How many evictions do you do? I mean, do you do a lot of evictions? Does that still go on?
I do a lot of evictions. Yeah,
And these people are just out.
they're out.
You do a lot of evictions.
I do.
Really? I wouldn't think you. I would think you wouldn't do very many. People aren't that stupid to get evicted.
They don't pay the rent.
They just don't pay the rent.
Well, that's some of it, and usually those people move out because they understand that they can't pay the rent. They either lost their job or something happened, whatever. But it's the ones where you give they're disturbing other neighbors, or there's a fight, or they're doing something they're not supposed to do, or whatever. Those are the ones that usually end up going to court.
Those are the ones that go to court.
And the non-payment of rent ones go to court, but they usually settle in mediation.
Settle in mediation. Okay. Yeah. Well, rents.
So, what is the effect actually of an eviction? 'Cause I think part of the problem is people that are tenants don't understand the impact it's going to have.
Well, I mean, in your screening, if you've got a prior eviction, I mean, if you're a landlord, would you want somebody that got kicked out of some other place? Probably not. You'd want the person.
So
that's
you're
got
not
a
able
clean-
to rent it. You're not going to get somebody to rent to you again.
That's going to be a lot harder.
But if you don't screen them, you're going to get that person. It's going to happen again generally.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Well, before all the big screening companies came along,
Okay.
when we first started this thing back in the 90s, I'd evict the same person from 3 or 4 or 5 units.
Oh wow!
And it was
really?
the same thing,
Uh-huh.
every 6 months, somebody'd knock on my door and say, hey, I have a problem with this tenant. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Same
And
way.
now we do that.
Yeah, we've seen him before.
So are these screenings? Are they multi-state?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a menu. You just buy what you want.
Yeah.
You criminal or multi-state or just Oregon or however you want to
So
do
the
it.
worst thing can happen is to be evicted,
Yeah.
because that's going to be with you, and then you're really stuck. Well,
It is.
That's
It is.
good
And
advice
if
too.
and the people that are on HUD through the housing authority, if they get evicted, they lose their subsidy.
Do they?
And
Does that happen?
It does. Usually, what we try to do is work it out with them so that doesn't happen.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, it's a good bargaining chip.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to get this guy kicked off their subsidy because
No.
that's not the goal.
No.
So that kind of helps move things along. But you do get people that are, that know the law better than you do and tell you what's going to happen, and they're always shocked when the sheriff knocks on their door and tells them to pack.
Well, they always use we're at a time when we always use the word due diligence, don't we, a lot? And I think it certainly applies here for landlords and even tenants.
Yeah.
Is to do due diligence for yourself and know what you're getting into here, because things have really changed. Things have
lightning
changed
speed.
here.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Everybody thought this bill was a pro-tenant bill, and it's not really.
No, it's not. I agree. It's not. It really isn't.
And it's going to make it harder for the tenants just because the landlords are going to have to be more diligent. And the things that they used to let slide, they're probably not going to let slide anymore.
Yeah. Unintended consequences of ideas that we think are going to help those who we
But if you have any
unintended don't help.
questions,
Crazy.
give James Stout a call because he's there and he knows his stuff.
JJ Stout at
JJ Stout 1
at
AOL.com.
AOL.com.
Still got the old AOL.
Yeah, you do. That's really old school. That's really old school. Well, I have a feeling you're going to be
early adopter.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to be awfully busy though with landlord tenant things is the way this has actually gone. So thank you, and come back again with us, and
anytime.
we'll update it again.
Yeah, thank
Alice,
you.
have a good week as well. All right, and
we're going to be showing houses in the fire district.
Get rid of the smoke. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show. Thanks to Brent Nance, who ran our camera today for your YouTube show. We will see you next week back here at KCMX News Media 880. Have a great week, and God bless you all.